What's up guys, this is Chris from VFXON, and in today's video this is what we're gonna be creating. It is a pretty sweet looking galaxy intro, and it is really easy to make one. So without further ado, let's get into making such a template. So here I have my composition already made, 1920 by 1080. So yeah, start with creating new composition, name it main or however you like to name it. I use 30 frames per second, 10 seconds long, 1920 by 1080. Or you can use a preset that I usually use is high definition TV 1080 29.97 frames and click OK. So we now need a background. So we're gonna create a new solid, name it BG for background, click OK, and we will need a gradient ramp effect. So drag that on. So we're gonna adjust the start of the ramp position, and we're gonna change this to 540 and this to 964. Okay, and for the start color, I'm gonna use this. So just pause the video and copy this code, click OK, and end of the ramp position to 1686 and 880. And for end color, I'm gonna be using this. Okay, and now we're gonna change ramp shape from linear to radial. Now we need another new solid. Let's name this form. Click OK, and we will need an effect called Trapcode form. So here I have it. Drag it on. Base form. Size X to 1550. Size Y to 1190. Size Z to 0. And particles in X and Y to 90 and 90. So that way it just creates a bit more particles. So in X particles in Z, we're going to set that to 1. And basically this is like layers behind the first particles. So let me see. Let's rotate this a bit like that. And if I'm going to set particles in Z to something, let's just change this Z size. So if I change this, as you can see, there are now more particles. You see like these layers of particles. So we need that to be set to 1 layer, like that. And center Y and X and Y to 968 and to 538. And center Z to minus 350. Okay, now open particle tab, and we're gonna set size random to 100, opacity random also to 100. So that way there are more random opacity, random size, stuff like that. You can, you can lower these if you want to have more consistent particles there, but I kind of want it to be more random. Now we need to open up a disperse and twist tab. And we're going to set disperse to 40 and twist to 1. Now let's open up Fractal Field. We're going to set effect size to 1 and effect opacity to 18. And also make displace, we're going to set that to 5. Flow X, Y, and Z all to 2. Flow evolution, okay. Offset evolution to 17. And like I've said previously in many tutorials, you don't have to use the same settings as I'm doing here. For example, effect opacity, you can just go like more crazier. Displays, you can also play with that. As you can see, it just displaces them. Disperse, you can also do something with that. You don't have to go exactly how I'm doing everything here. So just play around and see what you like. And fractal sound, we're going to change from noise to abs noise. Okay, let's scroll down. These settings are okay. Okay, and now we're gonna start working on our text. So I'm gonna just simply type VFXON, place it somewhere in the middle, and I'm gonna change the size to about like 162. So it's not that big and it's not that small either. So let's just move it in the middle like that. And now let's pre-compose that. Pre-compose, let's name it logo. Now let's go back to our comp one. Oh, I have to close this. Okay, and now what we want to do is we want to select this, pre-compose, and name it Galaxy. Okay. And now what we want is we want a new solid black color, and let's name it Turbulent. Okay, and now we want an effect called Turbulent Noise. And that. Fractal type basic, noise type linear, and contrast to 120. Brightness to -34. And complexity to 20. Now go into sub settings and let's change sub rotation to 19. We can close that. And now at the start of the timeline, we're gonna set an evolution keyframe and set that to 49. Let's press U on our keyboard to see the keyframe. Now let's move to about like, I don't know, somewhere here. And let's change the evolution to 1 and here to 82. And basically this is because I want this to just sort of have some sort of animation going on, and it's not just still and standing and not doing anything. And we also need an effect that we used previously, a gradient ramp. Where is that? Gradient ramp. Let's add that. And start color, we're gonna use this. And for the end color, we're gonna use this. And we're also gonna set blend with original to 73. So that way it's now more pinkish, red sort of color. And this is basically gonna be our galaxy. And if you want, you can use different colors. You don't have to use the same colors I'm using. Just imagine how you want your galaxy to look like. So I want it to be something like this. And I'm gonna change the mode to add, and track matte, I'm gonna set that to alpha matte cloud. Okay, and now what we want to do is we are gonna use an ellipse tool and just draw a mask. Oh, sorry. Select the layer and just draw a mask. Okay, and now I'm gonna adjust these points. I'm gonna move it to like somewhere here and adjust the points. And now let's go into mask. And we're gonna set mask feather to 95. And let's see, maybe I wanna increase the size of this mask so it just like covers a bit more of the text. Something like that. I think that looks good, so I'm gonna go with that. And we can always later on change this. So now what I want to do is I want to duplicate this and move it underneath our logo. And I'm going to do alpha matte logo. So it looks now like this. But I don't want a mask, so I'm going to turn that off. And also I don't need gradient ramp. If you want, you can leave it on. And now let's press U on our keyboard to see the keyframes. And for this one, we're going to set a keyframe for contrast, and we're going to set it to 0. Oh, sorry, the wrong one. Keyframe contrast is 0. And we're also going to set a keyframe for brightness and set it to -54. And also adjust the keyframe for evolution and set that to 0. Now let's see all the keyframes. Now let's go, I don't know, to about like here and set a contrast to 758. Now again, move forward, I don't know, like here and set brightness to 64. Now move forward to like here and set evolution 216 and delete this keyframe. Okay, and again toggle switch modes, and we're gonna set logo layer to a 3D layer. Okay, and now let's open up logo, and I'm gonna change this to 0, so that way it's more, all of this logo, all of the letters are not spread out that much. So now it's a bit more compact. Okay, now let's set a logo to a 3D layer. Press P for position and set this to 109 and this to about 1047, maybe less. Let's see, something like this. Well, it really depends on your text position, but okay. And now we need to create sort of like stars or whatever you want to call them. So hold shift for a perfect ellipse or rectangle, and then we want a blur, Gaussian blur. Drag that on and move the star. Let's name it star. Move it here. Now let's set the blurriness to 14. Okay, and now it's going to transform opacity, alt click, and type wiggle brackets, and I think it was 60,1. Let's see. Now actually it was 1 and 60, 1,60, like that. Okay, and now let's go to content, ellipse path, and let's set the size to 22. So it's a bit smaller. And we also want to change the color. So I'm going to use this color. And now we want to go and change the scale. I'm going to set scale to 86.3. Oops, 86.3. So pretty much just try to make your own like version and idea where you want the stars or sun or whatever you call them to be, because it really also depends on your text position. So yeah, I'll be back when I'm done with mine. Okay, and for a few of these, let's just add a glow. So let's just, I don't know, let's add it to this one right here, and threshold to 8.2, radius to 105, intensity to 1.5. Maybe let's cut. And this does not look exactly like the one in the preview, but you know, I mean, I can remember every position of them, and I'm doing basically my best. So yeah, let's move on. Now let's go back to comp 1, and as you can see, it looks pretty bad. So to fix that, we're going to change mode to add. So that's how it looks right now. I think it looks pretty cool. Maybe what I want to do is I want to set a scale for a few of them a bit lower, and maybe more blur for something like that. This looks, in my opinion, a bit better. So back here, so and now we need a new solid. We're going to call it light, and let's add flare, lens flare, optical flare. Let's go to options, and let's see, preset browser, light. Which one did I use? Dirty ammo, whatever. Okay, and we're gonna turn off hide, iris, hide. So pretty much all of the irises we're gonna hide. And also lens orbs, multi-iris off. and multi-iris off. And we also want to select this and turn this multi-iris off. The rest looks good. And click OK. Okay, and now let's set position X and Y to -32 for X and Y to 472. And center position to 908 and 496 for Y-axis. And brightness, let's set that to 80. And let's go into flicker and set speed to 3 and amount to 96. And alt click on center position and type wiggle 1,10. And render mode from on black to on transparent. Okay, and now let's close this down and move it here and make a new solid. And let's name it mask. Black is good. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to draw a random mask which will make everything look a bit better in my opinion. So what I'm gonna do, it's sort of like vignette, but all not really. So yeah, just a random mask. Try to do something similar to what I'm doing, but you know, you can, again, you can do however you like it to look. So pretty much I will try to draw the attention to the middle of the composition. So something like that, press M. We maybe later adjust it. Press inverted. Mask feather to 355. Mask opacity to 62. And expansion, let's just see, maybe something like that, and let's just adjust a few points. So yeah, just, you know, try something like this so that the attention is more towards the middle of the screen, that and that you can here see these black sort of like lines, or the black solid there. Maybe I'm gonna increase the expansion even more a bit and feather out. Okay, something like this. Okay, let's close that down. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to create a new camera. Click OK. And let's go into transform options. Let's go to the end of the timeline and set a keyframe for point of interest and for position. Now let's go to the start of our timeline and let's set point of interest to 1061 and position to -1351. So now that we go over our timeline, you can see that everything is moving, but we need to make our galaxy a 3D layer. Okay, now you can see that it is moving and it looks really, really cool. So yeah, that's really awesome. Now what we want to do is we want to duplicate our form layer, and let's just call this form, I don't know, fly, whatever. And we're gonna adjust some settings here. We're gonna set size X to 3170, size Y to 1000, center Y position to 651, and center Z to -1730. Particle type from sphere to glow sphere, sphere feather to 100, opacity to 47. Okay, so now we can see those particles. Good. And we want to set color to this and also do the same for this form. Okay. Now let's go to disperse and twist. Disperse to 36, twist to 0, effect position 0, effect opacity to 0, and also displace to 0. And pretty much all of these to 0. Okay, and let's see how does this look right now. Flies. I kind of want the particles to appear a bit sooner, so let's see. So what are we gonna do is we're gonna set X rotation to 103. Okay, and now I can see that we have these particles, which is great. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to make a new solid. Let's name it, I don't know, let's name it Fade. Okay, and double click on Ellipse tool so that it creates a nice shape. Inverted, go back to start, and set mask expansion keyframe and set it to, let's set it, I don't know, to like -600. Yeah, that's good. Now let's move to like about here and set that to, and let's just set this to like, I don't know, whatever, like this. Okay. And now let's select these keyframes, right click keyframe assistant, easy ease, or you can just simply press F9 on your keyboard. Okay, and now we need to adjust the feather, and let's just set it to something like this, I would say. Okay, and now we want to split this layer, so go to edit, split layer, or you can press Ctrl-Shift-D. We don't need this part, so delete it. Now we have fade, and we need the same fade effect only at the part that the animation is gonna end. So let's just go like, I don't know where you want. Let's say I want it to end here. So duplicate this layer, move it to here, press U on your keyboard, and simply take these keyframes and switch them around in place, like that. So it fades nicely out. Okay, and now let's select all of this, right click, pre-compose, and let's name it edit. Okay, and so this will be comp 1 will be sort of our final composition that you want to render. So now let's make a new adjustment layer. Let's name it CC for color correction. And we want an effect called curves. Add that. We also want brightness and contrast. And shadows and highlights. Okay, so with these settings, just play around and see what works for you. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna load the settings that I used in the original preview. Okay, so here you have red, channel here, green, blue, and RGB. So if you want these curves, I will leave a download link in the description. So yeah, and you can just use your own settings and see what you like and what you don't. So let's move on. For brightness and contrast, brightness we're going to set to 9 and contrast to 23. And for shadows and highlights, we're going to check out amount. And shadow amount, we're going to set that to 10. So one thing that I noticed is that the text or logo comes, like, it doesn't really comes together. You see, there's still these gaps we need to fill. So to fix that, I mean, it looks cool, but to fix that, we need to go into Galaxy Composition. And here, for example, or wherever you want to adjust, let's say I want to adjust it here, adjust the brightness and set the brightness to a more than 100. So it pretty much fills everything out. Now if we go back, you can see it's filled up. And maybe let's just drag it out to here. Okay. And we need to, let's select all of them. Right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. So yeah guys, that's it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you did learn something and I hope you found this useful. And if you want the template, I can give you a download link. You just need to contact me. And yeah, so please subscribe, like, share, and yeah, bye.